Are you worried that AI is going to take your job? I don't think you need to. And let me tell you why. I'm Warren Whitlock. This is Emerging Technology, where we talk about the technologies that are coming and are here, just arriving, and what's going to happen in the future. And of course, one of the big ones is AI, artificial intelligence. The rumors are that it will start taking a whole lot of jobs. So far, very few, and very few examples of that. In fact, what I usually see when I talk to business leaders is how they need more good employees in the current situation. That's going to change. There's going to be some places where the AI does a better job at doing something and they will hire less people. That, of course, has happened a little bit and will happen more. When there's a self-driving car, then you will not need drivers to do that. And in a contact center where there's just a sea of cubicles with people doing the same thing, some of that will be replaced as the answers given by a bot in a conversation become better and better. But there's some things that aren't going away, and there's some skills that I would say you need to have regardless. So in today's emerging technology, we're going to talk about whether or not AI can take your job and what you could do to compete against it. And it's very easy, actually, to think about it. I've been around for a while. I started working, there were computers existed, but there wasn't a computer on my desk. I didn't interact with the computer. And I was able to do my job. If we wanted to see somebody as a salesman, I had to get in my car and drive to the place and have the meeting with them. And the other jobs I had were all things where I needed to produce something with my hands. And then the computers came along, fax machines came along, email came along, mobile phones, and then ultimately smartphones, all while people like me were doing the same job. I moved on and did many other things. So I haven't had a job now for nearly 40 years. And that's one of the things I want to tell you about. It's a choice whether or not you're going to go and punch a clock and work for somebody else, whether or not you're on hourly, salary, wages, whatever that is, commissions. If you're working for somebody else, they control a lot of how your day goes. And once you decide to take control, you become you Inc. And so if I'm working for me, I get to set the standards of how many hours I'm going to put in, what I'm going to do. I have to worry about acquisition, but that's something that you may not need to worry about too much if you get the kind of work that is substituting for a job. Today, my producer's helping me. She doesn't have a job where she goes someplace and gets paid to be there. She works for me. She gets things done and she gets paid, and very flexible on hours and able to work anywhere at any time of your choosing. And that's what the gig economy is all about. So that's the first thing I would suggest. When you're looking at how to keep your job in the future, maybe you just don't need a job. And you do need some kind of income. So we gotta worry about that, but you don't need a job. There shouldn't be a right to a job, or the government is fooling us if they're telling us they're going to make jobs, because all the government can do is employ the people that work for the government. They can't make businesses that work. That's been tried over and over again. Capitalism works better when the person who's running the business gets to decide what they want to do and how they want to manage things. And often that has been by employing other people to work for them. But we're locked into this idea that a good job means you go someplace, you put the hours in, you go where the employer tells you to and when they want you, and do whatever they tell you to do and try to get skills that please them. And then in return, they pay you. Really, what you're doing there is selling your time for money. So I've never been a fan of selling my time for money. I do what I want to do, and I make sure some of it provides me with income. And deciding to do that early in my career has made all the difference to me, being happy with whatever I do. Another thing I decided back then, an aside here, but I think it's appropriate. I decided that I was going to be happy, that things that happen to me, bad things, good things, whatever, are going to happen. Some of those are caused by me, some of them are not. And regardless, I get to make a decision how I'm going to react. Some people react with like an animal. And me too. If I touch a hot stove, my hand retracts immediately. If I think I'm touching a hot stove, I just heard last night about a telling of when they first came out with motion pictures, films, 100 years ago, and they would show these in a theater, and people would come in to watch the Great Train Robbery. And there's a scene in Great Train Robbery that where the camera is on train tracks, and the locomotive comes towards them, like it's going to run somebody over. We watch that today, all of us. We were raised being able to watch these things and know that it wasn't real. But when people was the first film that they saw, the Great Train Robbery, it would get to the scene where the train was coming down the track, and people would get up and try to leave, run to the sides, make sure they don't get hit, because that their brains were not set up to recognize that motion picture was something different. So all the time we get to choose how we react. Most of us do not react to seeing a train on a movie screen with fear, but we could. Fear and anger, wanting to find fault with whatever somebody says. All those are natural reactions, and I do them all the time. But when I learned about this, I said, if I get to choose, why not choose to be happy? And so that's my default mode. Do I do it all the time? No. But most of the time, people think of me as a happy person, and I feel happy because I choose to be happy. If I hear about something horrible happen, I'm going to react. I'm going to be fearful. My parents have died. I've had other calamities that happen in my life, things to grieve and mourn. But my default reaction is, okay, what do we do next? Because I'm not going to go back and change the past. Let me be happy about the future. And I think that has a lot to do with the future focus that brought me into working with emerging technologies and thinking about the future as something that is better. And so let's take that attitude. Start with the attitude of you're going to survive. You're going to find something to do. If it really gets down to you can't take care of yourself and you think you're going to starve, then maybe somebody will feed you. And if they're smart, while they're feeding you, they'll say, tomorrow you've got to do something to earn this. If you're down and out because of something, you're physically handicapped or been injured or whatever like that, I'm sorry, this doesn't quite apply. But if you have basically an able, healthy body, you're able to find something to do and start looking for that. So let's talk about some of the skills that'll help you as we move into a world where AI is replacing a lot of the work that we do. Oh, one more thing. Wouldn't you be happy if the AI takes away the drudgery of what you're doing and you're able to spend time on more important skills? When I started working, we had a person who full time sat by a phone and answered it and then routed the calls to the right person to talk to. You wanted to call our business, you never got to talk directly to me. You had to talk to the receptionist first, and then it was transferred. At first, that I worked in an office where that was a full-time job, and then they were able to put it in a place that the receptionist could also greet people walking in, but they were still answering all the phones. That's something that's gone away today. That's a job where that person certainly had skills to be able to work in some other capacity, but the job title receptionist went away, and now people answer their own phone. And the people I knew that had that job went on to get other jobs. Anytime the jobs get replaced, it's not a job, a right, a thing that's attached to the person, and that goes away and you're in trouble. Certainly, if you work in a company town and there's a big factory and everybody works for the same factory or coal mine or whatever, it's going to be disruptive way beyond you need to find something new to do. You might have to move, but there are always options that you can do, especially today when everything's online. So let me get into some of the specific. Here's some of the skills I came up with I got a list of a few. First is human connection. If you have people and you get along with people, not only do you get the best career opportunities, but you have an enjoyable time doing it, and you're doing work that the computers right now just can't do. Sure, they're making AIs that can be a companion or even a therapist, uh, even attorney can be. I've seen scenarios where they'll be replaced, but what they can't do is the human connection, and the doctor who actually physically touches the patient and examines them and is there. And along with that is emotional intelligence. Being able to read people, everything from body language to listening to people, what they're really saying. You know this. Most of the time, when somebody complains about something, it's not the problem. The real problem is something underneath that. Something went bad in your life, and you're now in a bad mood, and now you're complaining about something to, say, a coworker, and they can't tell because they weren't there when the bad thing happened. But being able to learn to get better at that, it's called emotional intelligence, is something worth studying. I study behavior psychology because, or in behavioral economics, because it's where people do things regardless of what's rational. And so studying that is always going to be good for you. And try it out. Do some tests. Try spending more time talking to your coworkers and not talking, listening to your coworker, and on a subject other than what did you watch on television yesterday, and something where you can really bond and learn something, and you'll find out that you're better liked in whatever career you're doing. The next thing I'm going to talk about is problem solving. Right now, if you give defined questions to an AI, it can operate along with somebody that has a master's degree or even a doctorate in things like engineering and high level math, and even the kind of tests that you would take to get into college or postgraduate. And you do very well at that. In science, the AIs can already figure out more chemical combinations than we've ever dreamed of and put them through tests, and they do a lot of things that can, but what to do is still left up to the humans. So in the case of the scientists, they're getting more done, but they're not having to do it themselves. They've got a machine that's helping them solve some of those problems. The machines won't get together and say, hey, here's where we're taking science next. There's got to be humans coming out with that. And again, to individualize it and work with other humans is something that's a skill that's going to stick around, even if it means that sometimes you're working with the AI, you're not competing with it, and it's not taking over. You, but something has to be the emotional, intelligent human being that wants something. If you don't want anything, if you're going to your job because I've got to have a job because it's going to pay the bills, start looking at where you want to work, what you would be doing if you didn't need a job, and that's a possibility too. We may reach a point where so much of the stuff we call work today is being handled by the robots and AI and automation systems, that we go on and do whatever we want to do. What would you be doing if you were in that position? Think about that, and you will think of a couple of things. I've done this. I've surveyed a lot of people. One of the things they talk about is if I didn't have any money problems, that meant I would have to pay off. No, if you have no money problems, that means that already gets paid off. That's the first thing. That's obvious. If you were able to win a lottery and have $1 million, of course, you make sure you paid off your credit card. You might buy a house. There are some things you do. You help out the family. And then that's great. That goes quickly. The next thing is people say they want to travel. Very common. I want to go to this place or that. And that's what I think of myself. If I wanted to stop doing this and just go out and see what else there was in the world, I would take my cell phone and my internet connection, probably a laptop. I'm set, and go to someplace else that I haven't lived, live there for a while, learn about that, and maybe go and see some sites that I didn't see before. And you know what? That doesn't take very long because you can do that right now. You can arrange your life so that you go and get a job in a different place, or a job that's online and then go to a different place, and you can experience life. If you figure out a way to have enough income to cover paying your bills, then yeah, you can basically choose to go anywhere and do anything you want today. Now let's talk about what would you do if you didn't need to worry about that job, and what else would you be doing? You might be playing music. You might be helping other people. There's a lot of people. There's people who are sick and are tied down to a bed. There are people that are tied down to their house. There's children that don't have enough time with parents that need more attention. All of those people could use some more help, some compassion. If that's what you want to do, go and do that. And if there's something else you want to see built in your community, you can work on that. And the many things that you can do that may or may not involve the automation at all, but also how can you take the things you learn about how AI works and how to work with robots, whatever, and apply that to whatever thing is out there? Because literally everything, every job, every occupation, every career, every type of business is going to be affected by these technologies that are coming. So keep coming here, watch some videos and maybe some more practical ones in whatever it is you care about. Or maybe you want to start compiling that information to help other people, because that's when you really know a subject, is when you know enough to share it with others. And just go ahead and help out the rest of the world as they get to this. There are still billions of people who don't have the ability to watch this video, to have whatever internet connection got you here, and you can go and help them. We've got a long way to go before we end all poverty, make sure everybody has a place to eat, everybody has freedom to move around, and that we're not killing each other anymore. All those things are possible. The technology is going to help. Start thinking, instead of how you need to compete with the technology, how it's going to come and hurt you, and start thinking about how you're going to use it to make the world a better place. To sum it up, it's going to be a great future. I think we'll be able to hang out someplace. Think of someplace you haven't been. Let's go there. We'll hang out there. If not me, somebody else who you care about. And in all cases, see about what it is you can do to improve your situation, so that you can reach out and help somebody else improve their situation in life. If you're doing that, there will always be a need for you. As long as there's people on the planet, we'll need those things done. Remember, AI could, it's all feasible, how AI could take over, wipe out the entire human race. And then what would it do? It's here to serve us, not the other way around. And I don't mean serve like it's our slave, serve like it wants, like when you're a servant and you want to help other people. And AI will join with you and help you in all those things. It won't determine what to do because it's not thinking like that. It's not alive. And it will not fight you because it has no need to. If another person instructs the AI to fight you, you might have problems. That's why we need you, all the good people, to learn about technologies and be ready to either eliminate their job or have a better job and have a better life, and then use that time to help other people have a better life too. And I hope you'll continue with me and subscribe the video, share it with some friends, somebody who's worried about losing their job to AI. Please share this video, share these ideas with them. And if you have other questions and ideas, best place to reach me right now is to leave a comment on this video. I read them all, and we'll make a video on the topic on your question or your ideas. We'll be sure to answer you and maybe see if we can help you get the direct help you need. I love talking to you, and I look forward to doing it again on the next episode of Emerging Technology.